still planning to look for, especially with Jim's health
Yeah, I saw him inside. Is that his reply? He's team spirit.
Hi, Rick.
Good to see you.
Yep.
Yeah, sure can.
Will you tell about copy?
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. Mine does not, every time I push on it, it goes like, kill out.
The what?
Maybe. Yeah, big one, sure. Maybe.
Appropriate address.
You are appropriate.
Hey, Jim. Good to see you.
Nice to see you again.
Can I do it now or when you just Jim, you know where the copy is, right?
No.
Material from operations.
You made it.
How are you? Good to see you again.
So you,
Yes.
Yes, sir, you have. One ready to go down on my left. Megan, are you ready? We'll call to order the regularly scheduled monthly business meeting for January 16th, 2015 of Island Transit. For the record, note that all board members are present, and I'd like to welcome two new board members. Commissioner Jill Johnson from Island County, welcome to have you here. And Councilman Rick Allenberg from the city of Oak Harbor, welcome to have you here. With that, please join me in the flag salute. The flag is ready. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first order of our agenda is to approve the agenda as presented. Does anyone have anything to add?
We had introduction, I guess.
We already did that.
But what about this guy?
Oh, the staff? Oh, that's a good idea. Why don't we start, you know our attorney and
No.
Matt Hendricks is our attorney
Go down the
in
line.
Nebraska, and we'll just go down the line here.
I'm Robin Goldring, I'm the administrator.
I'm Sean Harris, I'm the operations manager.
I'm Ken Riley, the maintenance manager.
I'm Paul Aaron, the financial analyst.
Sarah Nell DeChambeau, one of the founders.
Okay, good, thank you. Now we're on to the next item, yes, the agenda items.
Are we going to have a discussion of the finance subcommittee?
Yep.
We need to add or sort of reappoint 2 members of the board.
Good, let's make that business item number 4. Is that acceptable?
That's fine. Yeah. That's good.
Does everybody know what we're doing? We have a standing committee for our finance evaluation from the board itself, and one of those members is no longer on the board, so we need to appoint one more.
I would like to suggest moving item number 3 and now item number 4 ahead of item number 1 and item number 2. Primarily because if there's leadership changes at this meeting, I'd like to get through the discussion items first and then do the changes to structure.
Renumber those. So just renumber them, yeah. We'll make business item number 1, business item number 3, item number 2, number 4, and business item number 3, number 1. And the new item that we put on there, number 4, make that number 2. Is that right?
Sure.
Get that mixed up while we're going along here, please correct me. Anybody else have something they'd like to add? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you very much. We have minutes from our last meeting, which was December 19th, which was a regular business meeting and a public hearing. And you were included one copy in your packet, and then we have a revised copy, is that right? The revision basically is an expansion of our regular minutes. Normally our minutes are nothing more than not a verbal word by word translation of what the meeting was. It was basically actions and decisions, and that's what most business minutes are. There was a request to add some other information in, so that has been done. I think normally the secretary's job is takes a lot of work, and to transcribe minutes verbatim, it's a lot of work. We do provide audio that's available to the public if they'd like to hear verbatim, as do most organizations. So that's why it has been done that way in the past, and I think that's the way to go, but certainly open for discussion on that. Anyway, you have the minutes as presented. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? I'd like to add a question, because my recollection, it might be a little bit different. On the first page, under public comment, it's about 2/3 of the way down. It says, Bill Strobridge, this is during the public hearing part, Bill Strobridge presented a golden watch to Mr. Dudley to thank him for his service on the board. Unless I missed my recollection, it was for his service on Rotary. That had nothing to do with the board. Does anybody else recall anything like that?
You can listen to Ken. He mentioned that he's a Rotarian.
Did he actually say service on the board? This board?
If I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Mhm.
Anything else? Hearing nothing, the minutes stand approved as presented. The next item is to approve our master voucher list.
Did you take a vote on that?
No, I didn't. I just approved it as
I think you
presented.
need to take a vote on the minutes.
Okay.
I'll move that we approve minutes as presented.
I second it.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? I wasn't a city member. Okay.
I as well. Abstain.
Okay, so it's 3-4 and 2 abstentions. Thank you very much. The next item of business is our master voucher list, and is included in your yellow cover sheet. Again, for those of you that are new, the board has been requesting and toying with various presentations for several months now of our financial position reporting, and also some other visual reports. And our financial analyst has tried to accommodate what we're trying to take a look at. This is by no means probably a final presentation, but it's as good as we can put together right now. Also, our finance committee does look at this material before it is brought to the board. And maybe I'd like to ask Jim if there's anything that came up that you'd like to talk about before we have a discussion on it.
Well, one of the things that we've been watching, just because it's beneficial to the whole organization, is the amount of expenditures on fuel. And one of the benefits that the organization is experiencing is that fuel expenses over the past year have stayed within budget, and of course below budget in those areas where we've reduced service delivery. And looks like fuel expenditures right now will remain below budget, because fuel nationally and I guess internationally is way below where it was a year ago. The hope would be that over the next 6 months that we would maybe experience additional savings, but the budget itself does not plan on dramatic savings in fuel, but that is one area we've been looking at every month. And it is one of our largest, when you total it up, it is one of our largest expense items. The other items are sort of normal operational items that repeat each month, and what we try to do is scan and raise questions if there's something new or something unusually large. The other area that we looked at was our total electric bills over the last year, and those have been stabilized. There was concern early in the year that they were running above budget. I think right now they're down within budget, and that's an area that operations and the occupants of this facility are, trying to find every savings that they can. Yeah. That's it on the master voucher list. The administration item, of course, includes repayment of short-term debt, which is not a normal administrative item, but that's why it's larger than you add up the short-term debt and bond repayments, and it's close to 90,000 of that is debt repayment. So the actual administration department costs are more around 27,000.
And can we consider these reports, the final end-of-year reports, or is there still stuff that dribbles in? I know that happens.
In the packet that you're given, there is on the third page, there's a budget actual report by department, which is kind of a conclusion to our budget process, and it shows the expenses by department at the year end, but there will be some adjustments as we prepare the end of the year for the audit.
Yeah.
So, but this is a good start, you might say. It kind of brings closure to the budget process for 2014.
So
And lets us
pretty-
know
pretty
where they
close.
are. Yeah, it's pretty close.
And I see we did make the adjustment in our cash flow to put in $525,000 into a reserve account. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not physically put in any separate account, but we did put it aside on the statements to show that it is an operating reserve.
Okay.
Is this budget book an item that will
Yeah, we'll talk about that too.
later? I mean, it's on the agenda. Right.
Ken, do you have anything to add, or?
No, I don't. I'm very pleased coming into this position that Paul has done, I think, an admirable job in terms of watching the budget, reminding all of us of where we need to be and where we're going. And I think I'm very confident the budget is solid now for 2015. It's going to be a year of stabilization. We can't afford anything new or many new projects. We're going to have to really keep close to the bone. But things are looking good. I should say better.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions. One is a procedural question. Wouldn't it be a wise thing for the transit district to actually have a place for the author of all of the reports to initial and a place for the director, the executive director to initial? I like to look at a document to know who is the author of those things, and as we have personnel changing over the years, it's easier to track back to see who is the author of this and to make sure that our executive directors have reviewed these documents before they come to us.
Well, I can tell you that they have.
No, I believe that they have. I'm not insinuating.
No,
that.
and they do, we don't see that
Yeah.
initial, but it is documented since I did that.
But for example, on the agenda bill items at the beginning of those, because some of these run together, the vouchers run together along with the cash summary report, stuff like that. And I like to know which departments are preparing this information, even when you go into the summary on ridership and mileage costs and things like that. How is the staff, who's responsible for that information, and has it been vetted by the director, whoever the director may be?
We can do that.
All right, I do that.
Yeah, we can do that. I can say, I prepared this booklet, and it's been reviewed, like the operations report will go to the director,
Right.
and it comes from operations.
So then, do we need to make a motion for that policy to be enacted?
I would make a motion that we add signature lines of the authors of the document and the reviewing parties prior to board submittal.
I would second.
Been moved and seconded to provide signature lines to the financial documents before they're presented to the board. Further discussion? Good item.
I thought Mr. Umber made a good point, just in terms of being able to go back if there are questions about how a number came forward, that you're able to talk directly to that individual and find out what information they used to present that. I think it will clear up guessing on where we got to a number. We can just go right to the source.
Mr. Chairman.
Would we want that to apply to also other reports, other documents, other than just financial?
My motion was intended to cover all documents, the author of the department, from the department, and the signature by the executive director. That was the motion.
That's Rick's motion, that's my motion.
Oh,
That's my second.
any more discussion? Okay, we'll make that happen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
And I had some other questions on this also.
All right,
That
go
was
ahead.
part two. On the report, and maybe this is something that I could deal with separately with the finance department. On the cash summary report and the budget actual reports, some of the numbers match up exactly, some of them don't. And there's probably a reason why some of them don't, and I'm not sure it's necessary to take all the time right now to do an accounting of this, but perhaps we could meet afterwards,
Yeah.
and mostly for my education, I think.
Yeah, just in summary for everyone else, that the cash summary statement is really looking at cash basis.
Uh-huh.
The second page, the budget actual, is accrual basis. So that's why you didn't
There's
see
going to
the
be
change.
some variation from
Yeah.
that, because some of the line items are right on, rounded off only by
Right.
pennies, and the others are off a few.
Yeah, you're gonna see some differences, primarily between when checks are written and checks are paid,
Okay.
and that's the difference. And I think the reason for those two separate ideas being put forward is there was a large emphasis on knowing the cash position, and that's the reason for the first statement. But I think a lot of organizations like to know revenues and expenditures, and that's the reason for the second one. So you can look at it from two different angles.
Okay. Thank you. I think we can move on from there. I'm satisfied with that. I still want to meet with you.
Yeah, we can talk about
Good
it.
idea. I had a couple of questions, and this is on the actual vouchers themselves, master voucher list. And both of them are on the first page, page 1 of 4. First item is under operations, and I know the answer to this, but you might want to just talk about it. It's the route match software, and that's a significant amount of money. Maybe we can explain what that is, Sean, and why we have that now.
The route match software is an addition or kind of like an add-on to the software we currently have, and it'll allow us to give us the opportunity to look at your phone and see where the bus is at, and it'll also do some in-house things like help us be a little more efficient with our run cutting, which is putting our routes together, and using the computer to do that.
And that would be available for public riders at any bus stop, is that, or just about any, not every bus stop in the woods maybe, but just about.
I just wanted to say, I think that 30,000 is actually an annual fee. It's for the privilege of using route match that we've already purchased. It's not the addition yet. We were talking about the addition, which would be around 35,000. And that was something we discussed as a potential grant fulfillment. But this 30,000 is, we already have route match software working in our dispatch area, and we're having to pay each annual
This is
fee.
a licensing fee.
Licensing, yeah.
Licensing.
An annual fee in order to use that software.
And that was did receive it initially as a grant
I think it was, yeah,
last year.
yeah, I wasn't there then, so.
And my second, thank you. And my second item is next under Information Systems, GHA Technologies for $2,200 professional services. I don't know what that is.
Is that also licensing? I know they put under professional
I think it
services
is.
licensing.
We're going to see in 2014, there's a number of items that we've purchased through the SGR grant that apply to information systems and licensing of a large number of different programs that we use, and a total of about $25,000, and I think that's a part of that. What specific technology that is, I'm not absolutely sure, but it is like a licensing fee for a piece of all the technology that we're using here.
Is it possible in your coding system to differentiate between professional services licensing, and professional services? Because I guess my initial reaction is that at the end of a year, you're going to have a large amount in professional services. And when I interpret professional services, I immediately think of contract support, so additional personnel, and I think that being able to show the difference between licensing and personnel support or outside contract support might be an important differentiation.
Okay, I'll look into that. A lot of that depends on the coding that our manuals here.
I believe, Paul, there are some subcodes that we could use to specifically identify those.
Those are the only two items I have. Rick,
Well, yes, I'm just curious. As I go through this, I'm looking at costs for it just says communications, interoperation communications. And I was just wondering why we're using so many different contracts. We've got AT&T, Comcast, Guardian, Frontier, Verizon, Ice Media, and I'm just curious why we use so many different. To me, when I see that, I'm thinking different vendors. And it would seem to me if it was consolidated, we might be able to leverage it a little better. Or is there a reason why we're using so many different carriers for communications?
I can help a little bit with that. Comcast isn't available on Camino, so Frontier Services Camino, and Guardian Security is the firm we use for our monitoring our security system. And Comcast, we have several different accounts with them. It's because they service different park and rides, Harbor Station, as well as our internet and phone system here. They're all separate. Their billing is all goes to separate places, so that's why you'll see several for the same.
just like home.
One of the interesting things is that Island Transit, I think, through its IT department, is pretty closely tied into island-wide communications and emergency services. And Island Transit has video coverage at many of its park and rides, and that becomes part then of an island-wide emergency response network. It's a service that we need for our own security and monitoring, but it also benefits the whole island and Camino Island too. A visit to our IT room is what I had a month ago, and I was amazed because I didn't know about the coverage and the versatility and how it's tied into other things in the county.
So I don't want to belabor that point, but I would like to get some more information on it because I had a meeting with Tom Shaughnessy from ICOM and we were talking about connectivity and redundancy and emergency management, and he had indicated, I had asked about a grant that Island Transit had applied for to do. Right, and he had indicated to me that he didn't think that that had been implemented. So I guess I want to make